Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to April's edition of LinkedIn Audio Events. The future of marketing, brand films are here. My name is Didier Lemieux, the founder and director of Fixon Media Group, a video production company based here in Melbourne, Australia. A warm welcome to Jared listening in this morning. Welcome to you, Jared. Nice to have you here. So the five talking points, the main talking points of today's event. What is modern marketing? What does it involve? What is it categorized by? We'll also be looking at what a brand film actually is, how brand films differ to commercials and advertisements, which you may or may not be more familiar with, perhaps. We'll then deconstruct what a brand film actually looks like, so the structure that is behind a brand film. And then through that, we'll dive into a little bit of a interactive part of the event today, where you can put your hand up and we can deconstruct an example of a great brand film using your business as an example, if you'd like to. So that's what we're talking about today, the future of marketing. Let's get straight into it. So what is modern marketing? That's the major question that we need to know before we dive into what exactly a brand film is. So with marketing, of course, as with many areas of a business, it moves in ages. So we've moved from the Mad Men age of marketing, which we saw around about the 1960s, thereabouts. We've then moved into the digital age through around the 90s through to even 2022. And now we're transitioning into this new age of marketing, the modern age, and this is called the immersion age. So the immersion age of marketing, very briefly, is categorized by a direct two-way conversation between a brand and a client, and vice versa, of course, as well. Immersion marketing is simply everything that has gone before it and combining it all together. Except the difference here is that it removes all of the push marketing elements from it and replaces it instead with building a genuine and authentic relationship between a brand and a client. So what does it actually involve? As we touched on, removes that push marketing nature, which we saw very heavily in the Mad Men age, where it was all about pushing a message out to a wide number of people in an audience and just hope someone would latch on. We've then seen the digital age, where it's all about push marketing, but going down to a very finite number of people, even one person in particular you can target these days in the digital age. But it removes all this aspect of push marketing. It combines the positives of the Mad Men age and the digital age, but brings it all together around building a genuine and authentic relationship between brand and client. So in terms of looking at it from a video marketing perspective, the immersion age of marketing involves creating films and visual content that customers and brands can have a conversation about together. Ultimately, with the way things are moving and have moved in the past 10, 15 years, we're seeing this conversation play out on social media. And one of the brands that do this better than anyone almost is GoPro. And they've been doing it for a number of years now. So GoPro, what they do is they post the content that their own customers create. And this is perfect because we see so many brands putting a lot of money down, for good reason, of course, on making content. But GoPro have seen the benefits and the negatives on both sides of the arguments for this. And they use their own customers' content as their own. And it does a great job of ticking off the boxes of building authentic and genuine relationships. So as an example, one of GoPro's customers may be filming themselves skiing down the Remarkables in Queenstown, for example, down the mountains there. So GoPro sees this post, they repost it to their own page, and then they add their opinion about it. So in doing so, this is going to create a conversation amongst their own customers, and also amongst other customers who want to experience similar things. And the key here is experience similar things. All about creating a bit of FOMO, fear of missing out. So over time, this back and forth communication between a brand and a customer, the brands are able to identify what it is their customers do and don't like. And as a result, they can then post more of what their customers like. This is going to increase those social media engagement metrics, followers, likes, shares, etc. But it also improves brand engagement, which is really the core of immersion marketing, the key metric that we need to be looking at. And for those that aren't aware, brand engagement is merely a metric that measures how strong a relationship a customer has to a brand. So through this back-to-back conversation, it strengthens this relationship, deepens the relationship, nurtures the relationship. And yeah, this is what modern marketing is all about. So I hope you can start to see now the idea behind modern marketing and where things are moving in currently. And then we'll discuss very shortly how brand films relate with this. What is a brand film? How do they work within this idea of immersion marketing, the modern age of marketing? So far, I've spoken about the content directly, the short form content, especially with the likes of GoPro, that they put out using their own customers' content. What you may or may not realize is that content is actually derived from brand films, from longer form videos. A brand film is any type of video produced by a brand for the sole purpose of improving the connection between a client and a brand. And that goes back to the brand engagement, very, very similar to the definition of that metric. This is very different to a commercial, to an advertisement, because they aren't used, brand films, they aren't used to pitch consciously. Commercials, likewise, they aren't there to be used to improve connection. They're used to sell directly and openly. And I won't dive too deep into differences just yet because I want to speak about that in depth a little bit later on today. But do just keep that in mind as we're discussing the ideas of brand films here. Now, I touched on just then, brand films don't sell and don't pitch consciously. They do sell, but they do this in a very unconscious way where the viewer of the film doesn't realize they're being pitched to. Brand films are actually part of the sales cycle. They play a huge role in the sales cycle. However, they do act in this subconscious manner towards your prospects and to your customers, which is why they are so effective. There's 5 different types of brand films. I won't go too deeply into them now. I spoke about this in last month's edition of the audio event. So if you'd like to check that out, do head to the Spotify link, which I'll add into the show notes. But very briefly, the 5 types of brand films. So the first one is an education film. So the education films are there to teach your customers about your product and your service, the process of how they are developed, and the whole work within that. So I'll give an example. You may have a restaurant, and the process of a restaurant, this particular one is they love talking about how they bring crop to plate. So an education film for a restaurant could be around that journey from paddock. They farm the crop, get it onto the crates, and they send that to the restaurant and they prep the meal. So that's an example of an education film there. The second type of film, a raising awareness film. Dove are a brand that do great work in the raising awareness space.
Who was that?
Dove, the self-care brand.
Yep.
So they do a fantastic job with their raising awareness films. And the idea around a raising awareness film is it's all about your core values and beliefs as a brand, as a business, and you have absolutely zero self-promotion in there. And that is a guarantee that there can be no promotion at all, because as soon as promotion comes in, it seems as though you're ingenuine as a brand and you're no longer trying to raise awareness. Instead, you're trying to get promotion back towards your brand. Social proof films, there's 2 different types of social proof films. The first is from your customers, and then the second is from your brand. From your customers, that's very simple. It's like a testimonial film, which you're probably quite familiar with, Jared. Yep. And then the social proof from your brand, that's more to do with a project highlight. So let's say a construction company, they've just taken on board a new project. Their social proof film may be about dissecting, here's the challenges that we faced when we took on board this client. This is the solution that we put forward, and here's the results that came as a result of that solution. So it's just diving through that process from start to finish, what that looks like, and that shows your social proof because you can show that you've overcome this challenge and you've got this result for your client. And then the fifth and final type of brand film are the promotion films. The key word here is, of course, promotion. But as we've touched on, brand films don't promote consciously. They do this subconsciously using marketing techniques that dive deeper and don't hit you face on that you're being pitched to. And we'll discuss what that structure looks like very shortly. But those are the five types of brand films just there. I mentioned earlier on, brand films are what create content. So brand films are a long form video, and your content, your short form content ideas come from this. So you can kind of say that brand films are like your North Star. Every piece of marketing, whether written, visual, audio based, it all stems from the 5 pillars of brand films. So if we go back to the GoPro example, when they show off their users' content, they hit 3 of the 5 pillars of brand films. So on one side of it, they hit the social proof from their customers, because essentially when they're reposting their customers' posts using GoPros to film themselves skiing down the Remarkables, it's essentially a testimonial film, because their customers are saying, hey, look at me, I'm using a GoPro, and this is what the brand has enabled me to do. On the second side of things, they also hit the education pillar, because they're educating their audience on how to use their product, and they're planting seeds in their minds of their customers as how that product can be used. And then the third pillar that they hit is the promotion film side of things, because subconsciously they're promoting their product, but no one viewing the content believes it's an advertisement. So as a result, as a viewer, our defensive guard is down. We watch the film and we don't feel like we've been pitched to. And as a result, the messaging of GoPro can be communicated to us as viewers without antibodies getting in the way. I like to say it because you can very much liken marketing towards antibodies and antigens. We're bringing this new disease, if you want to call it that. It sounds harsh, but it's a perspective. And that defensive guard is like an antibody coming up and saying, no, you can't get through. So that's an analogy that you can think of sometimes with marketing. So the idea of a brand film is that as a brand, periodically you create films in each of the 5 pillars to be your major long-form content pieces. And then from there, the short-form content is produced under each of those pillars as a guideline.
When you say long-form, how long should a long-form video be? Because I did one for our company the other day and they just kiboshed it and I thought it was actually really good. So a long-form video, is that a minute or is that 5 minutes? Or what's long-form look like versus short-form?
So I like to define long-form as anything 90 seconds and longer in duration.
Yep.
And that's generally going to be in a horizontal format as opposed to vertical.
Yep, so it's in landscape.
In landscape, yep.
Yep.
And it's going to be in that for the duration.
Yep.
Touched on earlier, Jared, the sales cycle and how long-form content is part of that sales cycle. So let's dive into that a little bit further and explain how short and long-form works with that. You may have heard that sales cycles, they've got all the different touch points, of course. Major touch points being meetings with clients, boardroom level, phone calls. They're major touch points. A long form video can be directly correlated to a major touch point in the sales cycle, because it's those type of videos, the longer form videos, where we can really connect with our audience and start to plant seeds in their minds. And this is why it's an example of that long form, the major touch point. If we look at the short form content side of things, these are examples of the minor touch points in the sales cycle. Minor touch point being you comment on your prospect's post on LinkedIn, you see them down the street, you say hello. It keeps you front of mind, and that is exactly what short form content does. when you're posting daily or 4 times a week, whatever the ratio is on social media, what you're doing is you're keeping your brand front of mind in your prospect's mind. Again, a minor touch point in the sales cycle. Most sales cycles have 13, 14 touch points before the client even considers buying. So you can see in here why short form content is important in that sense, because it just is a touch point going further and further and further along, adding up to that magic number of 13, 14 before they finally are contemplating whether or not to buy. Is that making sense, Latha, Jared?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So then you may have heard also that to create ongoing and consistent short form content, you need to cut clips from longer form videos. And this is 100% true. We're doing this exact same thing through brand films, except instead of cutting down from a brand film into little clips, because you only get maybe 3 or 4 pieces from each brand film, we're using the brand films as the North Star, as the content guideline of what we need to produce to deepen those relationships with our clients. So we have those 5 pillars of the brand films: education, raising awareness, social proof, promotion. And we're bringing down from there like little tentacles, and we're pulling from each of them and we're saying, okay, we can create a short form piece of content from this pillar and this pillar and this pillar, and bring that all together as part of our overall marketing strategy. So that's the idea of a brand film. That's what a brand film is and how they relate to modern marketing and, of course, the sales cycle. Any questions from Latha or from Jared?
No.
All good? Perfect.
Yeah.
So then how is a brand film structured? Each brand film has a very slightly different structure, but outside of the raising awareness film, the remaining 4 pillars, 4 different types of films, they each have the following structure in common. So what is this similar structure? The first is that they discuss what it is your business actually sells. So this isn't on the surface level. This dives really deep into what it is you actually sell. The second thing that they have in common is that they showcase the impact of your brand. And we'll dive into further what each of these are, and we'll give examples in just a second. The third is that they highlight the emotions associated with your brand's impact. So out of all the impacts that your brand has, you may have 1, you may have 5, 10, who knows. But each of those impacts have emotions that your customers feel as a result of that impact. And a brand film highlights those. And then finally, they all connect with viewers on a really deeper level by utilizing your brand's core values. And that goes back to those raising awareness films, but this is also spread across all 5 films. So I'm going to give an example now so you can hear in action what each of those 4 structures are, and you can kind of start to see it in your minds of how they all work together. Afterwards, I'd love to open it up to the floor, and Jared and Latha, if you want, we can go through this exercise in an interactive fashion for your own businesses, for your own brands. But we'll just limit it where possible. Hopefully, we'll have a few more people jump in towards 10:30. So the example I'll give is a restaurant, and I love to use restaurants as examples because they're a very simple type of business to understand. Extremely simple. Everyone knows exactly what a restaurant does. So on face value, a restaurant sells food. But if we dive deeper, what they really sell is a place for friends, families, couples to spend an evening together in a warm and cozy environment with beautiful food and drink. Can you see how that's such a big contrast compared to what it is on face value? On face value, they just sell food, but there's so much more than that. And this is where we can really start to dissect the impacts and then the emotions and then how their core values interact with all of those. From that real genuine product, what they actually sell, there's many different types of impacts surrounding that. If we focus on one potential impact, because the best brand films focus directly on one of those impacts. One possible impact could be that through creating this environment, they enable a set of grandparents to dine with their grandchildren for the first time because the grandparents have been overseas since the birth of their grandchildren. That's one possible impact. So then from there, we have the associated emotions of this. What would that be? You'd have happiness, excitement, love, joy. It's a long list, but that's just a short touch on what those emotions could be. And then through all of this, the restaurant shows that they value family connection. So you can see there, that's the 4 structures. What they actually sell, the warm and cozy environment with beautiful food and drink for everyone to connect in. The impact of that, or one of the impacts, is that they can create through this environment grandparents that dine with their grandchildren for the first time. The associated emotions being happiness and excitement, love and joy. And then their core values. They value family connection. So that's just a real short, sweet example, a little exercise, if you will, of how this all works together. I'd love to bring it to the floor now. Jared and Latha, if you'd want to go through this little exercise, more than happy to go through this, and we can go through those 4 structures and break it down individually for your own brands. So if you'd like to, Latha, you can raise your hand and I can bring you up onto the stage if you'd like. And Jared got you, of course, on the phone, so we can bring that. I'll bring up Latha. Hopefully it works for you. How you going, Latha? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Didier. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
And nice to see you, Jared.
Hopefully Jared can still hear us.
Yeah, he can hear us.
Perfect. Awesome.
Oops.
So Latha,
Perfect. Let's go.
let's go through your business.
Sure.
Do we want to go through which business for you? What would work for you?
Maybe let's do the brand upwise one,
Brand
where
upwise.
we generate the lead generation.
Lead
So
generation.
we do end-to-end marketing. So we do advertising, Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, SEO, websites. We do all like 360-degree marketing to generate leads. So I
Sure.
will take that business, Didier.
Fantastic. So let's go through there. So end-to-end marketing,
Mm-hmm.
on face
Lead
value, that's the
generation.
product. Yeah?
Yes. Usually lead generation is what people would understand and like more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So lead
They
generation
probably
being,
resonate with both. Lead generation is the outcome, but marketing is the task that we do.
sure, gotcha. So if we dive a little bit deeper then, what would you say is deeper from you? So from that face value of the marketing, end-to-end marketing with the lead generation being the outcome, what would you say is a deeper example of what that core business product is, if it dives really, really deep?
Is it in terms of outcome, you mean?
Um,
It's actually, I think it is actually business growth, like strategic business growth.
Mhm.
Because that's what people are coming for. They want to grow their revenue and profit.
yeah, so business
Yeah.
growth.
Business growth is something even more deeper.
Sure. I would agree with that, definitely.
And quite recently, I saw some people resonating when I say, oh, we will work towards giving you 3% market share. Then people resonate with that because they understand that they'll be the key player in the market, you know?
Sure.
So people love the lead generation part, people love the growth part, and people love that they will be one of the key player in the market.
Love that. That's a great definition and an example. Okay, so let's
Sure.
use that as diving deeper. So business growth, where we can help you get an extra 3% of market share. Would that be correct? As a real deep example?
Yes. Yes, correct.
Perfect. So that discusses what it is that your brand actually sells, as opposed to just staying surface level and saying we do end-to-end marketing with the outcome being lead generation. Diving deeper, we provide you with business growth that will give you an extra 3% in market share.
Sure.
So then what's the impact of this? There's many different impacts. If we were to go through
Sure.
them, an extra 3% market share, well, that could result in an extra six figures of sales each year, an extra $100,000 in sales each year for some businesses. It could be an
Some
extra 20
business it's even
clients.
more. It's more,
Exactly right.
definitely more.
It could be huge.
Yes,
It's all
huge,
different.
huge, huge. Mm.
It's all relative
And
to the size of the business.
exactly. And where they are currently. And usually, Didier, if you go a little bit deeper, we travel with them.
Travel with them.
Yes. It may look like it's marketing, but slowly what happens is, of course, when they have a marketing done, then they have to set up a CRM. Then we will set them up and they want to do the sales. Then it's like traveling with them. Like some clients stay for the whole, like as long as they are in the business. So it's a kind of what how to say it. It's like a partnership.
I love that. Travel with them. That's a
Travel with them
great
so
example.
much.
That really dives really deep then, doesn't it?
Exactly.
You travel with the business to help them grow their business, with one of the potential outcomes being an extra 3% in market share. That's fantastic. Okay, so
Sure.
we'll use that then. One of
Sure.
the impacts, as we've touched on this, it's all relative to the size of the business. Let's go down that example of, let's say, an extra 20 clients per year is one of the impacts of your brand and the product that you sell. How would
For
your
us or for our clients?
for your clients? Sorry, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
It
that's
depends again.
it's all relative, of course. But if let's just put a
Yes.
number on it and just say that one client got an extra 20 clients as a result of your product. That's one of the impacts of your brand. What would
Sure.
your clients be
Definitely.
feeling as a result of that? What emotions would they have? You've just landed them an extra 20 clients per year. How would they feel? What would be the associated emotions as a result of that impact of your business?
First of all, they are very grateful that they found someone who can take care of everything from end to end. They are extremely happy because that's added revenue that they can run the business smoothly, and their return on investment is also higher. So they feel a little bit free from their day-to-day task. They'll easily hire another person. They can breathe so much. It is not overnight success, Didier. You know it well.
Of course.
It's definitely an overtime success, but slowly they will see the growth. They'll see every week because we have weekly status meetings. We check everything. So they see the growth and they understand what's going on. So they're extremely happy.
So there was a few that you touched on there, emotions wise. So grateful, happy, free, and they can breathe.
Breathe. Yeah,
And
for
breathe.
sure.
That's a good example, because I think everyone wants a bit of breathing space every now and then. Things can get very overwhelming, especially when you're looking in the marketing side of things. So there's so much to do and so little time in some cases. And having
And another thing, Didier, I want to add this point alone is that people now we are end to end, right? So which means we'll update the website when it needs to be updated, we'll update the ad when it needs to be updated, we update the LinkedIn profile or social media platform. So we update everything. So we see all of them to work synchronously, harmoniously, right?
sure.
They all help with each other. So once we see, oh, Facebook ad is not working, so we fix it. So they feel like there is a partner who takes care of the whole marketing. So that feeling of that partnership, and they don't have to think about it, that itself is a great emotion for them, that they can work on only what they know.
Love that. Yeah, real partnership. And it goes back to what you were saying before. You travel with them along the journey and you help them out all the way along the line. That's fantastic. And then you can see why at the end of it, they would be grateful for your help. They would be happy and they would feel free because you've taken care of them
So
and you've taken care of all the tasks that they had to do.
exactly. And that's why our vision itself is to keep every client for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
That's what our team worked towards, like what's, and we measure the outcome. So that's why they also see that, oh, it's changing, things are moving. And certain times they cannot see the results for maybe 5 6 weeks, but they know that we are making the changes. So it's the transparency that they feel, that they appreciate actually.
Yeah.
So I think these are all the emotions, like 6 7 emotions I told.
Like, and the more emotions, the better, because the reason we want to highlight the emotions in brand films is so that you can use those emotions to captivate prospects for your brand, for your business.
Mm.
Because if you can make your customers feel the emotions that your customers feel, you can make your own prospects feel happy and grateful before they've even become a client of
Mm.
yours. If you can make
Sure.
them feel that way
And
before they become a client, then they want to be a client
mm,
because they know that they're going to have that exact outcome and those exact feelings 6 months, 12 months, 24 months down the line. And they chase that FOMO.
and they also feel like we are taking care of their babies very well,
Mm, yeah,
because they are very, very close to their brand, because they created it, right?
exactly right.
So they know all the struggles they went through. Even some designs we do, they just get so emotional seeing that those designs, because they communicate their brand. So at the end of the day, it's the outcome they are happy about, but even the little tasks, the small designs that we create, or small short kind of animated videos that we create, like from the photos, they feel like very emotional.
Yeah.
and and they show to their family and say, oh, see, how is it coming, see. It's sometimes it's actually more emotional.
So then here's a
Mm.
question for you, Latha. What would you
Mm-hmm.
say Brand Upwise values the most? What do you believe in the most in terms of, we've gone through, what your product really is, your impact, and then the associated emotions with that. Based
Mm-hmm.
on all of those variables, what would you say it is that your brand truly, genuinely cares about? What do you really value? What do you really believe in as a brand?
Sure. This is something our mission statement. So it took me a while to come up with this, but I wanted my team to also understand it, because we are now 26 people. So I wanted them to understand. So what I created was, know the best, be the best, and do the best. Know the best is knowing the correct information around you. Be the best is you put your thought process and your being in that project, and doing the best is doing what is required for that particular brand. Because for me, it's no, it's about the learning, whether they are learning, because nobody can learn the whole ocean of marketing. It's the everyday learning.
Mm.
So for me, our focus is on learning only. That's our, I want our team to focus that only. And it is a win-win for everyone. See, if I am learning, it's good for the business.
Yeah.
If my team is learning, it's good for them personally, because they will of course go to a different business, or they'll grow personally. And it's good for the client. It's like win-win-win. So learning is the only thing, Didier, it's that's what we are breathing,
Mm.
we have to do that. Otherwise, we can easily be out of this market, especially in digital marketing. As you know, Google updates like 3,000 times a year.
It's very
That's
hefty.
like 10 times a day.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, so we have to keep updating. So I feel learning is the only way to go. And I made the team to learn. Does it answer your question?
Definitely, Latha. Yeah. So a real
Mhm.
deep value of learning
Sure,
is what your brand is all about. And you really
exactly.
genuinely love it. Know the best, do the best, be the best.
Yes.
Learn.
Mm.
Learn. Love that.
And Didier, it's like you will feel it. Like sometimes a brand comes in and you have to make changes to the website. It's not like tweaking one or two things, restructuring. It's so it's all the learning. Then interestingly, we have certain tools. I don't know, probably Gerard and Steve, you guys also would love to use these products. We use something called Microsoft Clarity. So what it does is it tracks what website visitors are doing on your website. So you track all of it and you can see what are the customers' behavior and you can adapt based on that. So those things are super helpful. So we actually see all, there is one data analyst in our business whose work is to look at those videos only for all the brands, all throughout the week. She has to keep making note and of all the videos that she's seeing. So what are we doing is learning. That's how we can grow. Otherwise, we we will soon be dying,
Yeah.
with all the AI tools coming. Yeah,
So
it's
constantly
so much
learning
fun,
being
Divya.
that real core, genuine value that you believe in. So
Exactly. And we don't mind like testing anything. Like, for example, if we get a client, sign up a client, we say we'll do one, two, and three, and four. But at one point, we notice that, oh, five and six are required. We don't like tell them, like, we say we have to do this. And we don't even say, like, oh, we charge extra. No, no, no. It's like we have to do this. We have to test it out to see whether it's going to work or not.
sure.
So it's that fun, Lydia.
So Steve, I'll just dial you in around what we're discussing about at the moment. So we're going through what the 4 key structures of a brand film are, and we've used Lartha's Brand Upwise business as an example. So on face value, what they sell is end-to-end marketing, but we dived deeper than that. We dove into the ocean and we found out that, well, they're not just selling that. What they really sell is they're a travel partner with the business all the way along, and they're there to help grow the business. And one of the potential outcomes of that is an extra 3% in market share. An impact of that extra 3% market share may be, it's all relative to the size of the business, of course, but as an example, maybe they get an extra 20 clients per year. So then how does the customer feel as a result of that? What's the associated emotions as a result of that impact? Well, they're very grateful, they're happy, they feel free, and they can breathe because Lartha and her team have taken this massive weight off their shoulders, done all the work for them, and they've seen along the way the growth that has been happening, and they've seen the metrics week to week through their weekly meetings. And through all of this, we can see that Brand Upwise genuinely care about learning, and that's where we're at the moment, just talking about the process of learning through the business. Lartha and her team show this every day through learning and making sure they're on top of the game, because as she touched on there, 3,000 updates from Google a year. I mean, that's huge. It's massive. So they need to be learning all the time. So that's those 4 pillars there, the 4 key structures amongst the brand film. So with all of that in mind, now we can craft a brand film, being the major long form piece of content. And then from there, we can create short form content that touches on all of that. I spoke about before how we want to use those associated emotions and make our prospects feel that. Lartha, you'd want your prospects to feel those emotions of gratitude and happiness and being free before they even become a client, because through those emotions and feeling that, they then chase that feeling. They're like, oh, I want to be free. I want to breathe. I want to be happy. And they want to be grateful to people. So that is where we can then use those in short form content. We can create pieces where it highlights that, whether that be through the testimonial route and doing a short 15, 20-second video highlighting that emotion. You could do something, some would say it's cheesy, but you're at a desk and you jump up and you celebrate and you're all happy and all this, but that just shows that emotion. People see that emotion, they feel that emotion. It's all just dissecting it, going deeper and deeper and deeper, and really finding out what it is, and then understanding what it is you genuinely value, so then you can push that out. Because if you have a value for learning as a business, there's definitely going to be clients out there that value learning as well, and you want to connect with those. And the only way by doing that is by highlighting your core value. Before we finish up, one of the examples I want to give as a real live example, and I won't be able to play it through here because it's all visual, of course, but I have linked it in the show notes, so you can check that. It's on the Future of Marketing little admin page there. It's a brand film from Qantas in March 2023. So Qantas are a brand that do exceptionally well with brand films. And despite all that has gone on with Qantas in the past 12 to 18 months in terms of negative PR, they still have such a huge brand loyalty. And this is purely because they know their connection points with their customers. They know how to make their current customers and their prospects feel the emotions of their current customers. And they can showcase their impact through their long form and their short form content. So I'm going to deconstruct this brand film just over the audio event here. And I do welcome you to go check it out afterwards, and you'll be able to piece it all together a little bit. So the basis of the film, the storyline of the film, is that a mother and her son have been apart for 4 years. Now keep in mind, this was made in 2023. So the idea of the 4-year gap is COVID's happened and they've been unable to travel back to each other. So the son, he's based in New York, and the mother's in Melbourne. So he's walking through the streets in New York. They're on the phone. The mum goes, "Hey, really, really miss you. When can you come home?" And he's like, "I can't." And they go through this whole story where they're selling the family home back in Melbourne, and the mum's going through all the memories of her son in his bedroom and what forth. And they use such amazing marketing techniques with the audio and the visuals to make you ride the roller coaster of emotions. When they're all happy, the colors are very vibrant, and when they're dark, there's lots of rain. It's dark, it's at night time, and you can really feel that negative energy. And this is all there to build us up for what's to come later in the film. Later in the film, we see that the son decides to go buy a ticket to fly back to Australia to see his mum. He packs his bags. We start to get excited because the music starts to go a little bit more up-tempo, again, riding that roller coaster of emotions. And then they're having a party back in Melbourne with all the extended family. And we see this process. They're having this party, and he's jumping on a plane. And of course, it's going to be a Qantas plane, of course. But again, it doesn't feel as though it's direct advertising because they're not pushing the Qantas brand as such. They've gone to an airport, they've jumped on a plane. You can see the Qantas air hostesses and what forth, but it's not evident as a viewer that we're being advertised to in this film because we're stuck in this storyline. The son and the mother are stuck apart, New York and Australia. Cuts down to the party. They're at Polpero, which is a winery down on the peninsula where I am. And then one of the extended family gives the mother a gift. And it's a boarding pass. And it says the son boards the plane at this time from New York and is coming into Melbourne. And she's like, "What is this?" She's confused. And then she turns around to a tap on the shoulder, and it's the son. And there's tears of happiness and joy and all of this. It's a lovely story, and it's only a 60-second film. But they fit all of this in here, and this is why they do such a great job. So if we go through that storyline there, we can see the 4 pillars in actions. So what is it that Qantas actually sell? Well, they're not just selling a plane flight from A to B. That's on face value. We can dive deeper and we can see that what they really sell is the ability to connect families, no matter what the distance, no matter the circumstances, no matter any variable, they can connect a family back together. What's the impact of this? Well, it's very open to us. We can see it straight away. The impact is that they can connect a mother and her son after 4 years of being away from each other. And that's the impact. The associated emotions with that. Well, before they connect with each other, there's the emotions of sadness, perhaps a little bit of guilt. There's the part where she reminisces of his memories as a kid. And then there's the second half of the film where there's the happiness and the joy and the elation when they come back together. And then we can see their core value, connecting people, family, friendships. That's their core values. So we can see there how the 4 structures work in together to create a brand film. And I do encourage you to have a look at that example just after we've done here this morning. It's only 60 seconds in duration. Thank you, Steve, for the little claps there. Appreciate that. So does that make sense, guys? Jared, Lartha, Steve, does that make sense? Are you able to see how those 4 pillars, the 4 structures of a brand film come together to craft a long form film? And then from there, of course, you can then dissect that further down. You can say, okay, we've got this feeling of happiness. Let's create a short form video about happiness and joy. And you touch both sides, because as a consumer, as a customer, we can feel both sides of the story. We can feel that sadness. We know what it's like to be away from our family. Then we can also feel the happiness side of things when we're back together and there's joy everywhere. So really, that's it for this morning. It's been a great time to chat. Thank you, Jared. We've got through your little audio troubles there with LinkedIn. So thanks for connecting over the phone.
Yeah, all good.
And Lartha, thank you. Thanks, Steve, as well, for jumping on later on. Lartha, I hope it was insightful for you to break down the pillars of your brands there.
Yes, Didier, it's so helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Lartha. We'll be back next month for May, again, the second Tuesday of the month. This will be a video one, so it'll be a webinar next month, and we'll go into a few more different examples and dive further down the rabbit hole, I suppose you could call it, of modern marketing. There is so much there to dissect. And as Lartha said earlier, there's so much to know and so much to learn. So thank you all for jumping on. If you have any questions, please do raise your hands now. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up for this morning.
Thanks very much, mate. I got a lot into that. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Jared. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon, guys.